Good evening, all. On behalf of WRC, I welcome you all for today's session of series of webinar on Excel macros. Today is our seventh session on creating user-defined functions working on multiple sheets and multiple files. I request Nachiket sir, please start the session.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Uh, Warm good evening to everyone. Can everyone listen to me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Voice-wise, I am audible, right? Okay,
Sir.
thank you. Okay, so like last Wednesday, today let us take up one more example, right? Like last time, what we would rather like to do is we will develop a macro from scratch. How about that? Okay, let's take another example because now we are on I believe seventh session or something, seventh or eighth session it might be. I think seventh session. So let's see if we can develop macros from scratch. Let us turn our larger attention towards that. And for that purpose, I'm going to take an example, a simple example to begin with. But let us see. While testing and debugging, some things might get discovered. On last Wednesday, we took a very simple example of creating a table of contents, which may be helpful, may not be helpful to you. But I would like to discuss something that is very interesting on one hand, and let us also see if we can perhaps use it in our work. So the idea is we have something called as Benford's law. Okay, has anyone heard about Benford's law? Possibly. Now it is very important as an auditor. Okay, as a cost and management accountant, maybe you perform audits or you don't perform audits. At the very least, cost audits are performed by you, correct? I mean, that's why CMA as a profession is created. And additionally, some more audits can be performed apart from the statutory audit, which is as per Companies Act. But then there are many other audits which can be performed either by a chartered accountant or a cost and management accountant or a company secretary. So that way, or is given. For example, SEBI has many regulations which require its intermediaries, that is the stockbrokers, depository participants, and other intermediaries, portfolio managers, and all. They have to get their things audited, and those audits can be performed by anybody. Like when I say anybody, means anybody from any of the three sister institutes that we have. So the point that I'm driving is possibly some of you or many of you or all of you are into some kind of an audit, and at the very least we are performing cost audits, I believe, okay, as a professional. So while performing the audits, it is very helpful to know one statistical law called Benford's law. Okay, maybe everyone is aware or no, I'm not sure. So I will make a basic discussion on what is Benford's law. It is a law of statistics. To begin with, it did not find its way automatically to audits. It was lying somewhere in the domain of statistics. What does that law say? So, yeah, we use it for forensic audit. That's absolutely correct. So maybe I think there are some people who might be aware of this already. Okay, great. So in that case, in Benford's law, what happens is if you come across a number, if you pick up a number at random, what would be its first digit? Okay, that is the concept. What would be its first digit? So first digit can be anything ranging from 1 to 9, correct? The range is from 1 to 9. And what is the probability that it is one of those digits, let's say 1? So theoretical answer is, okay, we have 9 digits. I'm catching hold of a number and I'm talking about its first digit from left to right. As such, the first digit can be any number between 1 to 9. So what is the probability? So if you ask me the probability is 1 by 9. That is the theory answer. Okay, whether we are talking about 1 being the first digit of a number which you catch hold of at random, or it could be the digit 3, or it could be the digit 5, or it could be the digit. Okay, the idea is it is one digit out of 9 possible digits, right? So the theoretical answer is 1 by 9. Okay, that's what everybody believed till the empirical data suggested something else. Okay, it's a very interesting story how, by accident, the statisticians came across this law. Okay, it was some kind of a chance happening that led to the discovery of Benford's law. I'll directly come to, since we are not here to actually discuss Benford's law. Okay, that's not our main agenda. And since definitely we are not here to learn statistics per se. So I will take a fast train, I'll take a flyover maybe. I'll skip all the other discussions which could be otherwise interesting. Those who have interest can perhaps explore it. But I'll directly come to the statement of the law. So what the law says is that the digits have different degrees of probability. Different digits have different degrees of probability. So one is actually more probable than two. If you catch hold of a number at random, a number which arises naturally, where there is no other pattern, where there is no other formula, where there is no other function or distribution which is determining its value, the numbers are allowed to arise naturally. Say if I catch hold of financial statements of a company and I look at the figure of cash and cash equivalents in the balance sheet, or if I look at the stock details, the inventory levels, and I catch the inventory level of a particular item of inventory in terms of units. How many units are there? If I try to catch that, or if I try to value it, what is the value of inventory? Inventory as the complete inventory on the asset side of the balance sheet, or maybe one particular inventory item. In any case, the number can be anything, right? It's a naturally arising number. So in that case, one is more probable than two, two is more probable than three, three is more probable than four, as far as the first digit is concerned. And nine is the least probable digit. The probability that nine is the first digit of that number is the least. Okay, so this might be a little surprising to some of us. That's because we tend to, extend equality. We like equality. We consider it equal and equality as a good virtue. Giving equal opportunity and giving equal representation. That's ethical. Having lopsided representation is unethical. So these are the values imbibed in our mind, and that is correct in human societies. But then when it comes to Benford's law, whether you like it or you don't like it, that is how the law goes. Okay. Harshvardhan has a question. So I don't have that link, but don't you have the set of exercise files already? So probably you might have joined today. I don't have the memory of listening to you previously or reading your name. So maybe I request somebody from this thing from the WRC. Someone can share the link. Okay, the link was generated by WRC. Probably it was shared at the beginning. Okay. Harshvardhan ji, I'll give you one good news. We'll not require the Excel files today. But let us see that link may still be pasted, but we can pave our way today without using them. Okay. So I'll quickly come here. What I'll do is I'll quickly share my screen. Can everyone see my Excel file? This is just a blank Excel workbook. Okay, and in this workbook, I've got, let's say, if I make a list of digits and the digits run from 1 to 9. Okay, what I'm discussing is not merely a theory. It can help you in forensic audits or it can help you in any kind of audits, maybe for discovery of frauds. Because inventory can be one area where frauds may be performed, right? You might have reasons to perform frauds in inventory because it's one of the important current assets. And I can steal inventory and thereby an individual employee of a company can profit. So what does the Benford's law say? If the probabilities are not equal, okay, 1 to 9, 9 possibilities are there. Just watch this part. You need not do this part. I'm just discussing the idea, the concept. Okay, if 1 by 9 is not the probability, then what is the probability? So it's given by a formula. So the formula goes this way. Basically, it is using logarithms. Logarithm of this expression 1 plus 1 by n. What is n? N comes from a column. Your n is your digit basically. If you are talking about 2, then you will just plug 2 over here and you will find out logarithm. When I say logarithm, you will find out the base 10 logarithm. Okay, it's the base 10 logarithm that you will find out. Now, how will we go about doing this in normal Excel? I mean, in our normal computation? Because the problem is that, okay, person is animated. The problem is that we may not be very familiar with logarithms. So if you have Excel, you can just insert the log10 function. That's extremely convenient. We need not do this right now, but let's say I want to have this log10 function. I write this formula. Log10 into bracket 1 plus 1 by n. N means reference to this. And then if I make a, I can do is, I can just give it a particular number format, a percentage with two decimals. That is a little easier to read, correct? Compared to those decimals, it's easier to read. So these are the Benford's law probabilities. Okay, these are the probabilities, and probably, and another thing that we can do is can we draw a diagram to present it. Okay, so ordinarily what we do is we highlight this. We go to insert tab, and I suggest we can draw a line diagram. In textbooks, you will also find column diagrams, but let's say I go for line diagram. Okay, this is what Benford's law suggests. If you just go to a web browser window, if you go to web browser window and you quickly go for Benford's law, so this is exactly what you will see. If I visit the Wikipedia page, quite technical. What they have used is a column diagram, but it's effectively the same figures. Okay, are we getting the same numbers? You can see these are the numbers. You can check your Wikipedia or any other link and see what I'm getting thanks to this formula. Are we getting the same numbers? You can check for yourself. Okay, this is using the same formula, nothing much different from. So basically, this is the same formula, right? 1 plus 1 by d. Okay, so that's the basic idea, and you can have a diagram. Okay, does this even work? So now I request everyone to perform one exercise. Let's quickly do this once manually just to satisfy. Or probably I will, okay, let's all of us do it once manually. It won't take a lot of time. And as we do that, let us see if we can then create a macro for it. So before we create the macro, let us first do it manually. And for that purpose, I'll pick up some data which is lying in the public domain. Okay, there is a law called Benford's law. I can see a Wikipedia page and I can see a whole lot of pages. So many web pages covering that. And probably this law holds true, does it? So what I'll do is I'll open a new web page, and in Google I'll put something called as NSE Bhav copy. And I request you to do the same. Okay, please do this part with me. Go to your own web browser, and in Google please type NSE Bhav copy. National Stock Exchange Bhav copy. Bhav copy means price list. Okay, we are looking at the price list. The very first link is archives of daily monthly reports into bracket EQ. Make sure you are looking at EQ. EQ is equity. So I'll click on this archives of daily monthly reports EQ. Select report, which report? So the report is going to be Bhav copy, and which date? The date is today's date. I think it's close to 7:30 now. I suppose the Bhav copy is ready for the day. I can pick up today's date itself. If I click on get data, I get the data. So this is fresh data. This data was not in existence just 2 or 3 hours back. Okay, 2, 3 or 4 hours back, this data was not in existence. This freshly brewed data, so to say. Okay, what you are supposed to do, I hope you are with me. Visit NSC Bhav copy, put that in Google, and you get this archives of daily monthly reports. You select the first report from the drop down, which is Bhav copy. First from the drop down is Bhav copy, and then give the date. Then press this button, get data. Okay, it will give you a link to the zip files .csv.zip. If you click on this link, the Bhav copy gets downloaded. And if I go to the downloads, okay, if you see, if you go to the downloads, I might extract it. Gives me a chance to extract. So this is the extracted file lying in my downloads right now. I would like to open it. So I get this. Okay, are you getting this? Hello? Are you able to download this file? You need to download this file. It will be a zip folder, and the zip folder needs to be extracted. Once you extract it, it's a CSV file. Please open it. Okay, is everyone with me? Just let me check the chat box. Name of the report is Bhav copy, ma'am. Anuradha, ma'am. It is Bhav copy. Okay. NSE Bhav copy. I'm typing in the chat. This is what you search for. Google. And then download today's Bhav copy. The report is Bhav copy. So Bhav copy means price list. Bhav means price. So what it is showing, what kind of report we get. So this is a report of various securities which are listed and traded today. It's the intraday trading report. So if I catch hold of any security at random, let's say this particular security, this security is listed and was also traded on National Stock Exchange today. It opened at 98. Its intraday high was 98. Intraday low was also 98. So there's not much of a fun here. Okay. Probably a greater fun is in this 20 microns. If you look at 20 microns here, okay, it opened up at 70 rupees 20 paise. Its intraday high was 71 rupees. Intraday low was 67.6. It closed at 68.55. The very last trade was at 68.3. Yesterday it had closed at 70.2. That's exactly where it opened. Though it is not a rule, it can open at a different price also. Okay, total trade quantity was 1,17,807. So these many shares were traded. The value of the trade, okay, the trades happened, different units were traded at different prices. The total value of the trade was 80 lakhs 89,667. And if I slightly widen this column timestamp, you can see the date. So this is date, basically the data pertaining to today. As such, 2641 transactions were entered. Okay, and this is the ISIN for this particular security, the unique identity code for this particular security across countries. Okay, globally it is a unique ID. So these are the fields of this data. Is it clear to everyone? Now suppose if I want to just check whether Benford's law applies to this. Yeah, any question? Somebody has some question? I can't hear you. I think somebody is trying to say something. No? Okay. So now let us see whether Benford's law applies to this data. We will target this field on value. What I suggest to you is either look at the value field or quantity field. I'll go for the value field. Okay. In your audits, you are looking at financial amounts, or maybe you are looking at If you are looking at inventory audit, then there is inventory levels, inventory values. You need to have minimum 1,000 values. Do I have 1,000 numbers here? If I press control down arrow, I have not only 1,000, but in fact 2,359 values. Okay. So I guess I can apply Benford's law on this, assuming that there is no manipulation in the market. Ideally, this Benford's law should hold true. At least that is what statisticians tell me. Now let me verify. I would like to at least be a little professionally skeptical before I blindly accept Benford's law. Let me try it on at least once, right? Now, before we go ahead, I would like to remind you that this is a CSV file. We eventually want to write a macro, right? In any case, we should not keep this as a CSV file if we want to do some working on this. CSV is a convenient format if you want to clearly store the data and probably send the data via email or something. But if you want to create a working, then ideally you should not have CSV. Okay, what you should do is you should try to create a file which is other than CSV, maybe the .xlsx file. The normal extension of a regular Excel workbook is .xlsx. Okay, .xlsx. But then XLSX is again not a convenient format if we want to write a macro. Eventually, we want to write a macro, right? So let us do one thing. Let us go for a save as. Okay, whatever may be your version, let's go for a save as. Okay, go for a convenient location right now. I'm going to keep it in the same folder. And just to distinguish, I'll put a suffix in the file name. Okay, I suggest you put a suffix. Okay, with macro, eventually we want to develop a macro, right? So I'm going to write with macro. And most importantly, the file extension is CSV, correct? I will change the file extension. I will change it to .xlsm, which is macro enabled workbook. This is the most important part. Okay, of your save as exercise, this is the most important part. Choose this from the drop down. Excel macro enabled workbook is what I'm going for. I have put the suffix with macro and now I'm going to save. So I've saved it. Okay. Okay, are you able to save it? Hello? Have you saved it? Okay, file, then just go for a save as. Choose your file name and make sure that the extension is a .xlsm file. Then just save it. So now this is a .xlsm file. You can see the file name also I changed so that it's a new file. The CSV file got automatically closed and a .xlsm file has opened up. I can create workings over here. Now, if I have to create the working, how will I go about doing that? Please do this part with me. It's a very simple exercise. Okay. Is everyone with me? Hello? Let's do that. What I'll do is I'll make one column called first digit. Okay, I've got an n column. I'll make a column called first digit and I would like to extract the first digit. How do I extract the first digit? So I'll use a function called left. Okay, many of you might be familiar with this function. It's an easy function equal to left. I tell Excel that here's my value in J2 cell. Okay, I want to extract the first digit of that value. Whatever may be the first digit, I'm interested in the first digit. Can I extract the first digit? So I'll put up a comma and I'll write here 1. 1 is the argument for number of characters. Okay, text is J2, number of characters is 1. Please give me one character or the first character. I press enter, I get 9 and I double click and drag this till below. So I get this. Okay, I get a variety of values. Are you with me? Okay, please do this with me. Don't wait for me to complete the entire exercise. Don't think it this way, oh, right now I'll just watch. And once sir has finished doing it, then I will do it. Don't wait for me to finish. Do it along with me. I'll be going slowly. I won't be going very fast. And it's a simple exercise, to be honest with you. It's going to be a simple exercise. All you need to do is just use the left function and extract the first digit. Now, just to satisfy myself, I would like to perform a basic check that if I apply filters and if I check from the filters, am I getting all the digits running from 1 to 9? Okay, 1 may be more probable than 2, 2 may be more probable than 3, and 9 may be least probable. But when I say least probable, that doesn't mean that it is it is never going to come. When you have 2000 plus numbers, there will be a few numbers which will start by 9 also. That is expected. So all the digits are covered. One very basic check is satisfied that all the digits should be present. Okay, no worries on that count. Now the next thing is I would like to summarize this and I would like to understand what is the proportion of ones, how many twos, how many threes, and so on. Can we do it that way? Okay. How do we go about doing that? We can go about doing that using one of the easier ways to do that is by way of a pivot table. You can create a pivot table for it. Okay. You can create a pivot table. How do we go about creating a pivot table? So I can go to insert tab and click on this pivot table. One very important thing for that is you have your ISIN and then first digit. There should not be any gap between the two. Make sure there is no gap between the two. Okay, if you have done your first digit calculation or extraction somewhere in P column or Q column or R column, you won't be able to create a pivot table. If you have blank columns in between, please delete them. Okay, just make sure that in your table range you have the entire range covered. And then you have new worksheet as the next option. I press OK. The new worksheet gets created. Okay. And then I would like to drag drop here. I have a column, the last column as first digit. So with the help of my mouse, what I can do is this first digit field, I would like to drag and drop it in rows. Okay, just click, drag and drop it in rows. Once you do that, you'll automatically see a list created on the left side, 1 to 9. All the 9 digits are enlisted. Now I've got the list of the 9 digits. Beside them, I want the counts. I want to understand how many ones, how many twos, how many threes. So I would like to do one more thing. I come to this first digit. Again, I click drag and drop, but this time I'm going to drop it in values. Okay. Just with the help of your mouse, click, drag it, pull it down, come to values and release it. Now, are you getting count of first digit? If you are not getting count of first digit, let's say if you are getting sum of first digit, you can always click here, value field settings, and then change the sum to count. Okay, I'm not doing anything actually because I'm already getting count. Okay, but otherwise the idea is what you want is count, but what you can see is sum. So you can click here, value field settings, the last option. There you must change it from sum to count. Okay, is everyone with me? I've got first digit in rows and values. I've got count of first digit. So this frequency has occurred. Is everyone with me here? Yeah, I think Arun Kohli ji is through. Vikant Reddy ji is through. Shashidharan ji is through. So also Anuradha Dhavikar madam and perhaps the others also. Okay, we did something very simple, very basic kind of a pivot table we have created. Now I would like you to glance at these values. You may not remember the percentages. Okay, I created or not created but computed the percentages using log10 function in the other file, right? Now you may not remember them, but one thing that you remember that you might have remembered throughout the discussion that basically the probabilities are supposed to fall, right? So you can't have more or less equal distribution for all the digits. The distribution should fall from, as we go from top to bottom. Now is the distribution falling as we go from top to bottom? Okay, that's what you need to check. Is the distribution falling? Okay, so the distribution seems to be falling as we go from top to bottom. The only slight exception could be between 6 and 7. Okay, where it has marginally increased, but then again it's faster. Okay. Let us anyways plot here Benford's law figures. So what are the Benford's law figures? On the figures. What is Benford's law probability? It is log10 function. You can try this with me. Just beside your pivot table, insert a log10 function and give an expression I am talking about. Sorry, 1 plus 1 divided by, okay, 1 plus 1 divided by A4 is what I try to compute. Close the bracket. If I copy paste, these are the probabilities. So I go to the home tab. I can increase the decimals like this, 2 decimals. Okay, so I'm getting these percentages. Okay, is everyone able to compute the Benford's law percentages? Okay, here's the formula. Let me share it once more over the chat. Simple. Okay, now I've got these percentages at mine. Can I get the percentages here also? The pivot table. So that I can make an apple to apple comparison. So I'll come to my pivot table. Then I can see the field list here. I request everyone to do one simple thing. Come to this count of first digit and click on that. Then click on value field settings. We saw this sometime back. Okay, click on count of first digit, value field settings, show values as. From summaries values by you come to show values as, and from the drop down you select percent of grand total. Okay, you have two tabs here. One is summarize values by, and the second is show values as. I request you to come to show values as. From the drop down, you select percent of grand total and press OK. So what happens is every figure gets converted to a percentage. Okay, every figure gets converted to a percentage and we get these kind of percentages. Okay, look at these percentages and look at these percentages. So do you feel they are similar? Mind you, this is a law of statistics. So it's not going to be a law of physics or law of chemistry where it is accurate. Okay, this is law of statistics. So it's going to be inexact, but does it somewhat satisfy the law? What opinion are you able to build? Okay, what's your opinion about these percentages? Okay, do the percentages look similar? Okay, maybe you are not sure, maybe you are sure or not sure. I don't know. But let's say uh, you want to make up your mind in a better way, then I suggest you can draw a diagram. Okay, by looking at the numbers, if you are not able to make up your mind, you should draw a diagram. How to draw a diagram? I'll just highlight this. I highlight and copy. Then I come to say row number 80. Okay, I highlight this and I copy it. I'm going to create a copy and I would like to then draw a diagram of the copy. You may ask me why. Why are we doing this? That's because you cannot draw a diagram if you have got two series such that you want to draw a diagram for both the series, but then one is a part of pivot table, one is outside pivot table. So that's where I'm making a copy of it. I'll come to this row number 80 and I'll go for pay special. Okay, pay special is known commonly by most of you. You can even do a right click and then click on this button, pay special, or press Ctrl Alt V. And within pay special, I want you to choose values and number format. Normally we go for values. Okay, pay special values. But I want today to use values and number format. Why am I asking you to do this? I'm asking you to do this because when you go for values and number format, if I press OK, then the percentages are retained. You can try this. If you go for simply values, you will lose your percentage as the number format. Then what you get is a list of decimal numbers. The decimal places can be 8 or 10. Okay, it's a little inconvenient to consume such figures. Okay, so values and number formats, I strongly recommend this, that in your pay special, please go for values and number formats. You have values and number formats over here. Okay, is everybody with me? Are you all through with this? And we draw the diagram. Selected people are responding. Just a few people are saying yes or no. But I hope the others are also doing. Yes? Okay. So now we just need to draw a diagram. As I told you, my preferred diagram is a line diagram. So I'll be drawing a line diagram and highlight this. I'll not highlight row labels. Otherwise, for this 1, 2, 3, 4 also, I'll get a diagram. So I'll highlight only these two fields. Okay, this much portion I highlight. And after highlighting this, I go to insert tab. And then I click on this line diagram. Can you insert line? So you have a section over here for within charts, you have a line chart section. Then you can go for 2D line chart. Okay. Now forget everything else. Have a look at the diagram. Make it bigger if you want, so that you can see it more properly. Forget everything else. If you have created this diagram, you need to highlight these two columns and then come to Insert tab and then click on this line diagram and then choose the first one. Okay. If you have done that, you have got a diagram like this. Now forget everything else. Look at the diagram. What can you see about this blue line? Okay, the orange line is Benford's law probability, and blue line is the actual progression. Now, what is your conclusion? Can you say that the actual data fairly conforms with the Benford law? Will it conform exactly? The answer is no. It won't conform exactly for the simple reason that it is a statistical law. But does it adhere to the law in a fair manner, or you feel there are serious violations? What is your opinion? I want all of you to share the opinion, your own opinion looking at this diagram. Do you feel that the Benford's law is being satisfied? More or less conforms, very close. Okay, your own independent diagram, independent opinion is what I want. Okay, please share it in the chat box. My personal opinion is it is fair. At the most, at 7, you can see there is some gap. But when I look at it in its entirety, I feel that much can be ignored. You might ignore that because statistical laws are inexact, 100% exact. So at 7, there is some deviation. Probably it can be ignored. Somehow close to an extent. Fine. So I would say more or less it is satisfying is what I'm getting. And you can perform this exercise every day, let's say for the next few working days, and see whether you are getting similar pattern every day. If it is a naturally arising number where we are not really manipulating with the figures, in that case, Benford's law will get satisfied. If Benford's law doesn't get satisfied, it's a red flag. That means somebody is tampering with the figures. Maybe somebody is fudging some figures. Maybe somebody is cooking up some figures. And it will throw it out of its conformity. Maybe one digit will have over allocation, much more significant over allocation, and one digit will have correspondingly much lesser allocation. So it will have a different shape. Right now, what is this? This is a downward sloping curve which is convex to the origin. You can say the same about both the curves. Okay, Benford's law is definitely that way. It is downward sloping from left to right and it is convex to the origin. But even the actual count of first digit curve is also that, going in that direction. I think it is primarily downward sloping and convex to the origin, which indicates that initially it falls rapidly. It is falling all along, but the fall is more rapid at the beginning and becomes gentler as we progress. That is what we mean by convex to the origin. In economics, we all learned economics. In economics, we had plenty of such curves, which were convex to the origin. The Benford's law curve is also like any curve which is convex to the origin. It only means that if it is downward sloping, then it basically means that it falls rapidly at the beginning, then it's gentle at the. Here, everybody. Okay, are you slightly better convinced about Benford's law? That Benford's law or a naturally arising data. It actually exists. I mean to say, if we have numbers
Sir,
and if we
can I
take the
ask a
first
question here? Can I ask a question here, please?
sure, go ahead.
Sir, the demo of the Benford's law is very well understood. But one question for me is here: the data which we took and the field value which we took as set of numbers is the first digit of the total value column.
Correct,
That's what you have taken. Na? So now
correct.
the first digit of a total value column as a set of numbers, it probably does not convey any meaning whatsoever. No, the values as such way
So
as a
this is
set
total
convey
data
anything.
value. So what I've done is because I did not want to share my data with you because then I can always cook up numbers and share, right? Which will anyways conform with the Benford law. So what we have done is we have downloaded some data from public domain and we have applied and tested. The only reason was that I wanted to demonstrate that Benford's law works. While Benford's law works in this data, it may or may not matter to you or it may not signify much to you. What I want you to do is to use this if you are performing any audit, and in that audit, if there is an amount column, you apply Benford's law and see whether it applies. Okay, where amounts arise naturally or where they are expected to arise naturally, okay, without any factor influencing the figures, because every transaction is independent. Transactions are arising naturally, they are not functioned to any particular pattern. In that case, they should follow Benford's law pattern. Okay, no pattern in the data. Okay, conceptually, logically, no pattern in the data means Benford's law. If it is not getting satisfied, then it is a red flag. And probably some figures have been artificially cooked up. That's where you will see a lot of count, and that could be a case of a fraud. So along with the genuine transactions, there are some bogus transactions also. That's what it will mean.
Sir,
Okay,
do you
time
mean to
permits, I'll
say,
show you an example.
if I may ask you one more,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, are we to suggest that uh, even the first law when plotted, I mean, the first digit of the value column, even when plotted like this, if it does not conform to Benford's law, then you can suspect that there is something wrong somewhere in some cell,
Correct,
right?
correct, correct. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. It means a red
Okay,
flag.
okay.
That means there is some problem. कुछ तो गड़बड़ है दया. Okay, that's how you should immediately, you know, uh, antennae should stand erect like that. That yes, something seems to be wrong. दाल में कुछ काला है. And then
Okay.
what has gone wrong is, as an auditor, you will check. So you'll focus your attention. Suppose, let's say for 7 there is some gap. Let's say this gap is beyond what you can tolerate. There's too much of a over allocation. Then you'll pick up all the numbers which start from 7. You'll examine them. Because in the actual data, there is this 7 is in much larger proportion than what is expected as per Benford's law, right? Suppose you consider that gap to be unreasonable. In that case, you will say that why so much of an allocation? So you will shortlist all the transactions which start with the digit 7. And now these transactions, how many are they? So they are 163. So out of 2358 records, I have shortlisted 163 records. And now these 163 records, if I check thoroughly, maybe I'll get something. There is a logical basis why I'm giving my attention to these 163 records because at one point they are having much larger frequency than what is expected. Okay. I expected only 5.8%, but there's 6.9%. So 1% of the data, that is about 25 records are extra. So maybe those 25 records could be some dummy records, bogus records. Which are those that I may not be able to tell? So I must check the complete audit trail of this 160 record. So very quickly, this gives me a sample of transactions where possibly some fraud has been committed. Okay, some kind of a manipulation has happened. So that's how we can look at that. Okay, so that is how the utility stands for an auditor, okay, about this statistical law. This law is otherwise lying peacefully in statistics, but we are discussing here in the capacity of auditor because this can help you to discover some frauds. Okay, that's another topic of discussion, but I hope everybody has understood the procedure that we adopted here. Okay, and now let's come back to our topic. What is our topic? Our topic is not Benford's law. Our topic is not statistics or forensic audit or even audit. We are not here to discuss audit per se. Okay, the main focus is Excel macros. Actually, we are trying to learn programming, and one of the applications could be, say, you want to automate Benford's. Let's say you get convinced about Benford's law. Let's say you find the discussion useful. Let's say you conduct some more studies and then you realize the importance of Benford's law in audit. So you decide, okay, today you have decided that now you are going to use Benford's law every day or in every audit of yours. Wherever you come across a series of data where there is an amount column, okay, those amounts are expected to arise naturally. There is no pattern governing them, and we have minimum 1,000 records. Okay, 1,000 records is not a big deal these days, but still, I'm mentioning. We have minimum those many number of records. Then automatically Benford's law pattern should happen. That's not happening. It's a red flag. Then I would like to see them. But just to make my life easy, can I write a macro for it? If you have noticed, I have undertaken a number of steps here. Okay? What I did was I extracted the first digit, like using left function, and then I summarized. Then I copy pasted the formula till below. Till below means till where? Till here, correct? Till wherever my last row goes. Now I slightly start speaking the language which we have learned the past 6, 7 sessions. Okay, so this is the last row. Okay, the variable that we can employ is last row. Till last row, I need to carry on with my formula. Okay, then that will produce a set of numbers. These are the first digits. Okay, then sheet was inserted. Okay, right, a sheet was inserted. And in this sheet, I created a pivot table. I derived a summary based on that. Okay, the summary was created. And then these Benford's law probabilities were computed. And then I did a copy paste of this over here. Then I created a chart. So can I bring this down to the click of a button? Okay, logically, I don't see much problem in this. We should be able to do this, right? The click of a button. Because logically, there is no other input that I need. I need the data. If the data is given to me, if the column is indicated, then I can run Benford's law, correct? Yes or no? So can we try this? Can we try making a macro for this? Okay, and one easy way of doing that. Okay, it may or may not be the best way. Okay, it may or may not be the most efficient way. But right now, today, let easy approach win over the most efficient approach, most sophisticated approach. Even though it's a little crude approach, it is okay. So long as it works and it produces correct results, who cares? Okay, so what we will do is we'll primarily rely on a recording. We'll create a recording. We learned how to record macros on day one, right? Let's apply that today. Let's create a recording. And of course, we have learned more concepts than recording. So we'll try to see if we can polish the macro a bit and lend it more flexibility and work. Okay. So is everyone ready? Is everyone ready to create the macro? Okay, can we redo this exercise? Okay, let's try to redo this exercise because I had not turned on the macro recorder. So what I'll do is I'll clear this worksheet. Okay, I've got this worksheet on pivot table, a worksheet containing pivot table. I just remove this worksheet. Okay. Just delete the worksheet as you delete it normally. I'm going to delete this sheet. You might ask me, do you want to continue? Yes. So I've deleted the worksheet. I'll even delete this column, which is on first digit. Okay, I'll not leave anything. So this is the plain data. Let's say we have the plain data with us. And then if we click a button maybe, or just run the macro, and the macro do the rest for us. Okay, so again, we are going to record this process so that we get you can see a structure limit, and then we'll see how we can tweak around. Okay, is everyone ready with this? So the extra working I have deleted. I've got just a single sheet. Now I'm going to proceed. Okay, before I proceed, I would like to do one thing. I just renamed this worksheet. This worksheet has a very specific name, PM22 Feb 2023. How? Okay, if I'm going to use this in future, please remember that today is 22nd February and the data is being used for 22nd February. Tomorrow it will be 23rd Feb. Day after tomorrow it will be 24th Feb. So ideally, I would like this sheet name to be more generic in nature, right? So I'll keep it very simple. I'll just rename this sheet before I start the recording. I'll rename this as data. Okay, plain and simple data. This is a generic name. If I use this name for any file belonging to any date, there won't be any confusion. Do you agree? So let's just give it a generic name data. And now we are ready. Is everyone ready? Can we take off? Hello? Can we take off our macro recording? Just make sure that you have renamed the worksheet as data and you have deleted the other sheet. You have removed the working in n column. You have done it till here. I think we are ready. Yeah, it seems others are also ready. Let us get started, should we? Let's get started. What I'll do now is I'll start the recording first of all. Where's the recording? I'll go to developer tab, record macro. I'll just call it Benford. Or Benford underscore law. Okay, Benford law, whatever name you want to give. Store macro in this workbook, all that is fine. Description and all is fine. If you want, you write anything. Shortcut key, I suggest don't assign any shortcut key. Okay, because even accidentally if that key is pressed, the macro will run. Let us not get into shortcut keys. My strong recommendation. And then press OK. Once you press OK, please don't do anything extra. Do exactly what I tell you. Okay, press OK. Now, OK button has been pressed at your end. Now the recording has started. Okay, the macro recording has started. Now let's go to the N1 cell at the top and let's write the header first digit. Okay, I'm repeating the exercise which I did manually. This time the only difference is recorder is on. So first digit, I type and I hit enter. That takes me to the next cell. How did we get the first digit? So using left function, correct? I would like to insert left function. And what do? I refer to this cell. Correct? Very simple formula. Close the bracket and hit enter. I get the answer as 9. Okay, I'm going to double click this and drag it till below. Okay, whether it is 9 or any other answer, just double click and drag it till below. I hope you are doing this in n column. Don't do it in your own column. Do it necessarily n column. Okay, so this table gets built up. And then I would like to do one more thing. We'll insert a pivot table, right? So let's say I click somewhere on the table, let's say in this given cell or anywhere. And then I go to insert tab and I click on this pivot table. Okay, Excel will ask me, is this where I'm having my data? Yes, indeed, I'm having my data here. New worksheet. This new worksheet is correct. I press OK. Now this creates a new worksheet. And I'll do one thing, I'll rename this worksheet as pivot. Ordinarily, I don't like to have worksheets which are like sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. Let's give specific name. So the moment the new worksheet is inserted, I'm trying to insert a pivot. While doing so, as a new worksheet gets inserted, I rename it immediately as pivot. Okay, just rename it and press enter. I got two sheets, data and pivot. Right, everybody's with me. Now you scroll sufficiently in the field list. And what we are going to do, this first digit, we are doing it for the second time. This first digit needs to be dragged and dropped in rows. This first digit also needs to be dragged and dropped in values. Okay, first digit column is there, right? Drag and drop it in rows and drag and drop it in. Automatically, we will get the count here. Okay, everybody is with me. Now, what do we want? We don't want the absolute figures. What we want is the percentages, correct? So I'm going to click on this count of first digit. Then I'm going to click on value field settings. I get this window for value field setting. I'll come to this second tab, show values as, and I'll change this from no calculation to percent of grand total. Okay, percent of grand total is very important. Don't choose other options. Percent of grand total, and I press OK. These get converted into percentages very conveniently, don't they? All this is getting recorded. Okay, am I going at a comfortable speed? Are you all with me? Or am I rushing through? Is everyone with me? I think I'm going slowly, deliberately going slowly, but if you feel this is still fast for me. And mind you, we are doing it for the second time. So that's another reason. Still, I'm trying to go as slow as possible. Now these percentages are computed. I'll keep my cell pointer on this C3 cell, and I would like to just write a Benford's law percentage. So BL percent is what I type in C3, and I press enter. Please make sure that you follow me meticulously. Like if I write BL percent, you also write BL percent. Don't write Benford's law percent or Benford's law probability or anything. Okay, just for now, follow me to the letter so that our macros, as they are getting recorded in the background, they become comparable. If you get a different set of lines and I get a different set of lines, it will be a little thick. Okay, so while I respect everyone's individual styles, for now, please follow me exactly. Now, what's the next thing? Next thing is we generate the Benford's law percentages. We don't know them by heart. So I'm going to insert log10 function. I never bother to memorize the table, Benford's law probabilities. Why should I memorize when I can generate it any minute in Excel? So I've inserted log10 function and then I write 1 plus 1 divided by. Then I indicate this A4 cell. Okay. I close the bracket and press enter. I get it. Now don't double click this. Okay. If you double click, it will take the grand total also. But you rather do a click and drag and stretch it only till here, only till 9. Okay, stretch it only till 9. The formula should go only till. There's the formula log10 function 1 plus 1 by 8. Just drag. I click and drag and this gets highlighted. I would like to now change format. The format is a decimal number, but I'll prefer percentage with 2 decimals. Then this becomes comparable. I'll go to home tab. And then I'll click on this percentage. Then I'll increase the decimals. We have the increase decimal button right beside the percentage button. Just press it twice so that I get 2 decimals. So now this working is also. Okay, so I've got a pivot table which gave me the percentages, which gave me the proportion of each digit in the total data. So the total is obviously 100%. What are the individual percentages? They are in front of you now. And just to finish this off, what we do is either you can read these percentages or a slightly better idea is we will make a copy of it. We'll do a page visual. Then we'll create a chart. Let the chart speak. So what am I going to do? I'm going to highlight some selected cells, not all the cells. These many cells I'll highlight so that I can draw a chart. Okay, so I'm going to copy this now. Just highlight, then do a control C, and let's say come to row number 18. Let's be uniform on this. Come to A18 cell. Okay, come to A18, don't go to other cell. And let's do a paste special. The keyboard shortcut is Control Alt V. If you don't know any keyboard shortcut, please remember the keyboard shortcut Control Alt V. Okay, it's very easy. Control V for paste. That everyone knows. Control V for paste. And then Control Alt V for paste special. Very easy to remember. Okay, if you don't know any other keyboard shortcut, please use Control Alt V. And what are we going to choose over here? There are many paste special options. I strongly recommend we use values and number form. So it will retain the original number form. Okay, values and number formats. Have you chosen that? If the answer is yes, press OK. And we get a replica of that over here. And then let's just draw the diagram. Okay. Now this is already highlighted over here, right? Without wasting any time, this is already highlighted. So I'll immediately rush to the diagram. I'll go to insert tab. Click on this line diagram and say, let's say 2D line chart. Okay, come to insert tab, come to charts. Okay. Within charts, actually I'm talking about line diagram. So come to line category if you can identify that. And then click on this 2D line chart. Okay, this chart is available. Then I'll try to make this chart a little bigger. Okay, that's it. we have drawn the chart. Are you all with me? Okay, so we have repeated the entire course of action. We have taken it till chart. Everything is over. Macro recording is also over. Can we stop the recording? Let us stop the recording. If we don't stop the recording, everything else will also get recorded. So the moment your work is over, if you have got your results, then immediately you should go to developer. Do not forget, press this button, stop recording. Okay, I've pressed this button, stop recording. Okay, just press the escape key also. And let me save this file before anything happens. It's a .xlsm file. We have already stored it as a .xlsm. You can hold the macros, no problem. But just save it so that the recording that we perform, just in case something happens the next minute, if the application gets crashed, at least the file won't get affected. Okay, save the file. Have you? Is everybody with me? Okay, so have you finished recording macro? Yeah, I'm getting a feeling that some of you are through. What about the others? Are others through as well? Very good. Nice. Splendid. Okay, even if one or two things have gone wrong, no problem. We are not at the mercy of recording. Recording is convenient. We can any day, any time, very easily, we can override what is produced by the recorder. So no worries on that count. At least if by and large your procedure is through, then we are ready. Okay, so now I'm going to press Alt Tab and come to this Excel file. I've saved the file already. Let me jump to the macro. To avoid confusion, I'll close the other Excel files. I got this book one, I think I'll close it. So we'll wish to save it. So this CM 22nd Feb with macro. This file is there. I go to developer tab. I click on Visual Basic and it has modules. Okay, in Project Explorer, you know this very well now. Here's the Project Explorer. Look for your project. It's in a .xlsm file. And within that we have modules. Within that we have module 1. You double click and open. So many things I've got recorded. This is one big problem with the recorder. The recorder creates so much of superfluous code that is overwhelming sometimes. But no problem. We'll work with that. Okay, is everyone able to trace his or her own macro? Okay, look for the project. Within that, look for modules. Within that, you'll have module 1, double click so that module 1 opens up. And once module 1 opens up, can we proceed and can we examine the macro? Okay, I hope you are able to trace it. I think the procedure on your mind is pretty clear. It's not a complicated procedure. Something like this you can do. Those who are fairly good in Excel can do this within 5 to 10 minutes, not more than that. Okay, once I explain the procedure to you, the procedure is simple. Does it require automation? Maybe you will say this doesn't require automation. This is a simple job, 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever. But that's the whole point that we are going to take up simple jobs to begin with, which don't require automation, but we will first automate those. Okay, so let's get started and we'll take help of record. So the recorder gives me a ready-made structure. Now let's examine. Let's examine and see what all things have got generated. Okay, I'm getting this. Okay, range n1 dot select. Okay, first is obviously the title. Title is fine. I don't have to explain this to you. Sub Benford underscore law. Now we can go a little faster. Okay, today is the seventh session or something. Okay, so I think we can go a little faster. This is the first line. I'm not going to spend time on reading that. This is a green line. I'm not going to spend time on reading that. I'll come to the first black line. That is range n1 dot select. And the next line is active cell dot formula r1c1 equal to first digit. Okay, do you understand the meaning and the effect of these two lines? Okay, what these two lines are going to do? They will take you to n1. Okay, we come to this n1 and we enter the header. So I don't have to do anything. The recording has done its job. The code has got generated. I don't see any reason why this code should be disturbed. Okay. Range n2 dot select and there we enter the formula. The command is active cell dot formula r1c1 and actually a formula has been entered. Okay, in the previous line, in one of the previous lines, active cell dot formula r1c1 was used, but a pure text was entered and now actually a formula has been entered. What kind of a formula it is? Left function is used with RC notation into square bracket minus 4. Is it difficult to understand? RC bracket minus 4. So we are standing here and while we are in this cell, we are talking about another cell which is in the same row, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 columns to the left. So we are referring to the cell which is in the same row but 4 columns to the left, which is nothing else but J2. What we see in normal Excel is J2. What we see in this macro is minus 4, RC bracket minus 4. Okay, I hope this is not confusing you. You are able to follow because R1C1 notation we have already studied. Correct? So we are talking about the cell which is 4 columns away to the left. And from it, we are going to extract the first character from the left. So this is nothing else but the same formula that we have over here, but expressed in R1C1 notation. Is this line clear to everybody? Hello? I hope this line is clear to everyone. Okay. Next thing is range n2 dot select. Selection dot autofill destination is range n2 colon n2359. Does anyone have any comments to offer? Do you have any comments to offer at this point?
Yes, yes, sir. This
Yes,
2359 is specific to this data. So
correct.
if it
Very
is,
good point. Perfect. So 2359 is the number, is the set of records as we find in this data. Like today we observe that in all 2359 records have been traded. 2359 securities have been traded today. Will it be the same number tomorrow? Will it be the same number every day going forward? The answer is no. So this we need to make variable. So that is where while we take help of recorder, but we need to incorporate something. Okay. So can we do one thing? Let's do one thing. So I hope now everybody has that. Everybody has this macro code library. Okay. Last time itself we had spoken about that. This was shared macro code library. Now I request everyone to open this macro code library. Open the macro code library and you can enable the macros if you want. And within this project macro code library, I request you to come to this module called library. Okay, it has a compilation of code. When I double click on this, the codes become visible. And we need to use something like last row, correct? Let's find last row. Let me know if you find the discussion to be too fast. Okay, what we are doing is we have opened this file. You need to locate your macro code library file. It must be somewhere. Okay, wherever you have stored it, open it. And within the macro code library, you come to library module. And within library module, you might be at the top to begin with. Please use Control F and you search for last row. Okay, using Control F, you search for last row. Try to figure out where it is. Here's last row.
Can I ask a small thing, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm finding it difficult to get that. I have opened the macro code library file, but when I press Visual Basic, only the earlier files Visual Basic is coming up. I am unable to open the Visual Basic of this. Do I have to close the first
Uh,
file and then?
no need to close that file. But in your, can you see project VBA project? Do you have the project explorer or have you closed
Then
it temporarily?
no, the issue is when this other Visual Basic this thing is available on my screen. So in the background, I have opened the macro code library file, and in the developer tab, when I click Visual Basic, instead of the Visual Basic of that file getting opened, the earlier one comes up.
So my question is something different. Do you have project explorer in your Visual Basic? Let it be any
Yeah.
macro over here. Can you see
Okay.
your project explorer? So first you'll have to double click. If you can see the project explorer, then you double
Yeah.
click on your project. Okay. Or you come to this project. Okay. It might be like this. Then you open it up. Okay. You come to your project first. Once you come to your project, then you double click on this module called library. Maybe all these are closed. It is also possible. It might be closed like this. You have to click on this plus sign, open it up, plus sign, open up the modules, and then you double click on library. So that way you will have to find your way. Okay, Project Explorer is extremely important here. If Project Explorer itself is not visible, you go to View tab and then click on Project Explorer. Get that first. Okay, View tab, Project Explorer. Once you get your Project Explorer, you search for your project. Which project are we talking about? Macro code library. I'm sure it will be listed here. So you visit that. Within that, you open the modules and then you double click on library. Are you able to open up the library now?
I'm still looking for Project Explorer.
Okay. What I suggest is you share your screen. You request for a screen sharing. I will just stop my screen sharing and stop sharing mine. I request you to share your screen.
I'll try to do it myself, sir, because I'm doing it on another desktop, and
Oh, okay.
this is on. I may have to again open this in this screen. I mean, don't bother. I'll find out. I'll find
Okay.
out.
No
Please,
problem.
please,
What I suggest
please
is then
proceed,
in
sir.
that case, you can try to keep it simple in one way by closing the other file. But here we will be frequently alternating between the macro file and the new, I mean the macro code library and the Bhav copy file. We'll be alternating between the two. So ideally both should be open. You should be able to switch between them.
I'll manage. Let us proceed, sir.
Great. All right. Thank you, WRC admin, for sharing the link. Harshvardhan ji, you can pick up the file from there. I'll reshare my Okay. So here I am. I'm in the library. As I search for last row, I come here. So to find out the last row of data. Sir, if in case you are not able to locate your library, na, I'll copy paste the commands from here and you can view my screen and you can at least type out. Okay, only problem with typing is there is great probability of spelling mistake.
Oh,
Okay, or
I'll
syntax.
take care. I'll take care.
So just
Thank you.
be careful on that, but fundamentally we can work with that because this is just a one-liner code. And I request everyone else who are able to access this library, okay, don't try to write, okay, wherever possible. If you have the opportunity, you must only copy, you should not type. Because every time you try to type, you are accepting the risk that you will end up committing syntax error. Okay, so let's try to avoid that risk. So I request you to highlight this line, last row wala line. Okay, last row equal to cells rows dot count blah blah blah. Highlight this entire line and then press Ctrl C to copy it. Okay, it has the title to find out the last row of data. Highlight it, copy it, and then come back again. Look at your project explorer. In your project explorer, locate your project. Where is your project? Here's my project. Within that, we have modules. This is modules. Within that, we have got module one. Double click on module one. So return to your macro. And probably what we can do is just before we run this, we can paste it. Okay, I would like to paste this line as the first line actually. Okay, let this be the very first one. First of all, let me discover the last row because I'm going to need it anyways. Okay, so I'm going to place it even before range n1 dot select. Uh, Sir, you can type this particular line. Okay, type it directly at the beginning and be extremely careful about the spelling.
No, sir. I managed.
Yes.
I managed to do Control C. Thank you.
Okay, great, great, fantastic. So here we are. I hope everyone else is also with me. Now I would like to just share a few more thoughts with you. Okay, when we say last row now, the way this line is written is going to go to column A, as you can make out. Rows dot count is total rows. How many rows do we have? As far as this sheet is concerned, we have as many as 10,48,576 rows. So it will go to the last row. Okay, last row of the worksheet, it will go there, and then it will come to the A column, and then it will do an end Excel up, so that is control up arrow. And in that process, it will bang against the last row of the data. The last row of the worksheet might be 10,48,576, but last row of the data is 2359. So this fact, okay, wherever it bang across that row number is captured in last. Okay, this is what this line means. We have already seen this line before. Now the question that I want to ask you, or the point that I want all of you to consider is there a guarantee that when this macro gets triggered, this data sheet will necessarily be the active sheet? What if the user just before triggering the macro, knowingly, unknowingly, or for any other purpose, inserts a new worksheet, maybe performs some rough work, makes some kind of a calculation here, and then eventually decides to run the macro, goes to developer tab, macros. Okay, chooses Benford law macro and presses run button. Can this happen? Can he run the macro while some altogether different sheet is the active sheet? That's a possibility, right? You must think of that. Think of how things can go wrong, and you will come across users who actually make that happen. Okay. So whenever you are writing a program, try to write as foolproof program as possible. So what I suggest is before this line, let's insert one more line. And this I'm going to copy from somewhere down. So somewhere down, I've got this line called sheet2 dot select. Can you see that? I'm having this line somewhere. Okay, I'm having this line. I'm going to say sheet 2 dot select. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this, paste it at the beginning. Sheet 2 dot select. Instead of sheet 2, I'll use data. Okay, again I've used copy paste. This line was written by Excel itself. There is no syntax error to begin with. If I have taken adequate care while copying, pasting, and replacing the sheet name, the given sheet name by data, if I have taken some basic care, then I don't see why any syntax error should arise. Okay, so I have placed this line at the beginning. So what I'm telling Excel is yours could be any sheet. I'm entertaining that as a possibility that there could be some other sheet before you run this macro. You have some other sheet as the active sheet. I'll come back to data sheet. I'll figure out the last row, the A column for that sheet. Okay, because we have come to data sheet, now its last row will be in the A column of data sheet. That's where that last row activity will go. At the end of this line, what will happen? The last row number 2359 or whatever is captured here. Is everybody with me? Any questions about this? So we have added these two lines. Anybody has any question on this? Is everybody able to write this? Naveen, you have a question, it seems? Yes, Naveen, you can ask your question. I think you have typed your question in the chat box. Does upper or lowercase matter? Yes, it matters. So please mind the case. It will matter. So use capital D. In fact, even that data, it might sound silly to you, but what I strongly recommend is don't even type that. You double click here in Excel, Control C from here, then come to macro, and you highlight whatever is the existing name and then do a Control V. That's a highly prudent approach. That even the sheet name I copy from Excel sheet, I double click there and I highlight the sheet name and I copy it and I paste it. Even the slightest chance I don't want to take that I might inadvertently make a spelling mistake and things go wrong unnecessarily. It's extremely irritating to correct spelling mistake errors while doing testing and debugging. If it's a logical error, it's fine. You will still not feel bad about it. But if these kind of silly mistakes are committed, you will feel extremely, irritated. You will be angry about yourself that why you did it that. Okay, I'm sharing with you based on my experience. Okay, otherwise I think things are clear. Okay, moving ahead. Now what am I going to do? The other lines are okay. Then you come to N1 and do this. If you want to use this autofill, since it has got generated by macro, let us use it. Okay, perhaps an efficient line. Now what can we do? We want to make this 2359 variable. We already have captured this number in last row variable. So what I suggest to you is we can have a concatenate. Okay, we have this range here. Instead of typing it like this, can we have it as a concatenate? Okay, that's the idea. So what we will do is we'll have this into colon, and then we have this 2359. Instead of 2359, what I'll do is just put I'll put a double inverted and an ampersand 2359. Instead of 2359, I'll use last two. I get complete can be enough. Till the step one. Okay. I think I can have it this way. Okay, I'll just do an undo. So this is how it looks. Okay, what we will do is so one thing you have n2 colon n. This much portion is common. In any case, the column is going to be n column. But till which row that we don't know. So the idea is that you put the double inverted comma here, then use an ampersand. Use an ampersand and then you type last row. Or it may be may not be a bad idea to temporarily accept this compile error. Use up arrow or something, you'll get a compile error, no problem. But don't even bother to type last row. Okay, you copy this word last row from your highlight and copy, come down, come here and paste it. So eventually this is how it should look. Okay, put a pair of double inverted commas immediately after n, then put an ampersand, then type last row, then closing bracket. So this is how my autofill destination will be. Okay, very simple solution. Is everybody with me? Hello? Now, range, yeah, somebody, please, yeah, yeah. Coming back to this one, range n2 colon n2359 dot select. Look at this line. What is this line doing? So this line comes as a consequence of the previous line actually. We had selection dot autofill as the line, and then I double click, it autofilled, and in that process we also highlighted this. Okay. Now this highlighting is not doing any job per se. Okay, main thing is the destination being autofilled. If your destination is correctly being autofilled, now whether this range is correctly being highlighted or no, it doesn't matter. This highlighting has got no meaning as well. So I am going to waive this point. Perhaps I can have a last row combination here also, but I will waive this point because it's not leading anywhere. If you want as homework, you can try doing the concatenate. Okay, just for practice, you already have one example at the top. Try to make a concatenate over here also so that even the selection matches with your autofill. Okay, not critical from the success point of view, from the success of this process point of view, but just for practice, you can do that. Okay, do that offline. And I would like to go ahead with range J1 dot select. I go to J1 dot select. For some reason, I've got this application dot copy mode equal to false. I got this on the first day also for some reason. So it's a harmless line, but it's a superficial, a superfluous line. I'll skip that and I'll go ahead. Then I get this sheets dot add. Okay, so what I did was actually I inserted a pivot table. And while inserting the pivot table, I chose new sheet. Okay, that comes as a default connection. I come to insert and if I click on pivot table, this new worksheet comes as a default option. I pressed OK. So in that process, a new sheet got inserted. So that line has been captured first, and subsequently, there is a single line command which has been, single command which has gone over 3 lines. Okay, this is one command which has gone over 3 lines. I'll come to this command later, but do you agree with me that ordinarily when we insert pivot tables, the first thing that happens is a new sheet get added. So this sheets.add is exactly the same command. Okay, a new sheet is being added, and onto that sheet a pivot table has been placed. Now let's read this command. Okay, this is a single command here. We are not talking about 2 or 3 commands here. We are talking about only one command or one line of command, but practically broken over 3 lines. Okay. How do we break
Sir, sir, sorry
single
to sorry
continuous
to
line
interrupt.
into?
So,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Sir, sorry to
Uh,
interrupt. Yeah, after
uh-huh.
that range J1 dot select, of course, I got kept it in another cell, but this application dot cut copy mode is equal to false. That line has not come in my macro.
You are lucky, I would say, because this is actually a useless line. Okay, it has come in
Okay,
my
okay,
macro. I don't know why, because it is not serving any purpose. Actually, this is corresponding to that, when we do a control C. Okay,
okay.
if you copy something, let's say you copy this thing. Can you see these moving ants here?
Yeah,
Okay, these are the moving ants. Then I go and paste this somewhere. If that job is over, that of paste, what we do is we get rid of this moving ants because the copied matter is still in the memory. We clear the memory
yeah,
by pressing escape key, correct? When we
that's right.
press the escape key, now the moving ants have got cleared. And if you try macro recorder, you will get this line. So this
Okay,
line is
okay, sir.
exactly that part where we try to clear the clipboard. Application.cut copy mode equal to false. So cut
Okay,
copy mode has to be turned off. Now what's the relevance of that line over here? There is no relevance. There is no copy
okay,
command before this line.
okay.
Okay, there is no copy command, no paste command. Out of nowhere, this line comes up. Having said that, it's a harmless code.
Mm.
It's like you have a blank slate and you are using a duster to again wipe it clean.
Okay,
But it's
okay.
already clean, and then you are moving duster once more. No, it's a waste of effort, but it's as such harmless. There is nothing, no harm created. So I'm
Yeah,
tolerating
yes.
this line. I'm just out of inertia. I'm not touching it. I'm moving it. That's the only thing. If you have not got
Okay.
it, that's good actually. I've got it.
So
I'm
the
going to
difference
delete it.
is the difference because of different versions we are using.
God knows. Like this happens so many
Okay,
times. It's possible due to different
okay,
versions also.
okay,
It's
okay, okay.
um,
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you for
frankly, I'm
clarifying.
not completely sure. Many times with and with comes without any reason. Uh, like without any um, obvious reason. We just tolerate this kind of thing. So recorder is not the best way of writing the macros, but today that's what we are going to do. Okay, because it's
Thank
an easy way. Okay, all these commands have got generated directly. Why? How come? That's because of the recorder. So we will be recording a lot in our initial days of macros creation. Anyways, moving on.
thank you, sir.
So yeah, active workbook dot pivot cache dot create. Okay, whether or not you are able to write this command or whether you know this command by heart, but you can figure out that this is going trying to insert a pivot table. Now there are various sources or various parameters related to the pivot table. Okay, so what is the source type? Source type is Excel database. Okay, what is your source data? This is important. Your source data, then you have a colon, then you have an equals to sign, and then can you see there is a one character space followed by an underscore. So this is how you break a, a legitimate way to break your code over multiple lines. Any code can be broken like this. Okay, you feel that your length is too long and it's going beyond one screen. This is my screen and it goes beyond my vision. In that case, you can always put a one character space, put an underscore, and continue on the next line. you are permitted to break your command over to. Okay. So that's a very legitimate reason. So just for example, I might do it here also. I got this autofill, then I might put an underscore here. I might hit enter. I'm allowed to do that. Okay, so now this is one command which has got spread over two lines. If I don't put this underscore and if I hit enter, then it might give me an error message. Okay, I missed that underscore, right? So it says, what are you saying? It's not able to follow. But then when I give this underscore, now that red color has gone. Now it is able to follow because now I'm connecting this line and this. Okay, so if anytime I can always have a line break by putting an underscore, space underscore and then a line. Okay, I'm not going to do anything of that sort right now. So yes, I'm going to take the commands as they have come. Okay, but I'm just telling you. Source data. What is my source data? This is a very important line in data sheet. So data exclamation. Why data exclamation? Because my source sheet, where is my data? In the sheet name data. Correct? I've got a sheet with the name data. The sheet name has got reproduced here. Exclamation mark separates the sheet name and the reference. And here's a table where it says, can you see it here? It says from the first row, first column till row number 2359. Now again the same thing. 2359 is a particular number. Okay, row number 2359, column number 14. You may note that there are no square brackets used here. In R1C1 reference style, we use square brackets, correct? Square brackets is when we have relative references. This is without square brackets, so that means this is absolute reference. R1 means first row. R square bracket 1 will mean the next row. Okay, we are not implying next row. We are talking about row number 1 in an absolute sense, column number 1 in an absolute sense. So this is A1 cell. And this is row number 2359, column number 14. Can you guarantee it will always be up to 2359? It can go beyond also. Na? Here it can go beyond or it can be below. So we already have last row as a variable. Correct. I'll again copy this. Okay, let's first of all copy this word last row. I'll again copy. And then I'll use the same trick of concatenate. I'll try to do a concatenate here. So R is common, right? Only the number is a variable. So I'll put a double inverted comma here. Then I'll use ampersand. In place of 2359, I'll paste last row, another ampersand, and then C14 also in a pair of double inverted. So this is my complete concatenate. This is how your source data should appear. Your source data as an argument should have this. Okay, I'm just pasting this in the chat box for ready reference.
सर स्पेस देना है क्या?
स्पेस टाइप करेंगे तो अच्छा है, नहीं करेंगे तो भी कई बार चल जाता है.
नहीं वो कंपाइल
Naveen
एरर
had a
वगैरह नहीं
question.
हो. It
Have you
doesn't
used
allow.
space
No.
in
In that, you just given ampersand last row, ampersand C14. In between, have you given space or you just
I've
type
given
it?
space? No, I've
Sorry?
given space. I've
Given
given
space.
space here.
Okay, okay.
But suppose even if you don't give space, no? If you type this nothing else,
No, in
then you
Excel,
use, oh, now it's giving error. So you
yeah.
better give space
Okay.
because
No,
you are supposed to give space.
okay.
That's
No,
what happens.
actually, in Excel, when we give a space between concatenate, so it creates a space. That's why I wanted to know.
Yeah. No, this is VBA, na? So here you are supposed to give space.
Okay,
In
okay.
normal Excel, it's okay. But in VBA, you must give space.
Sir,
Noted.
sir, in normal Excel also, if you just give a space, it does not create a space. If you create a space by
Correct.
putting that space in inverted comma, then
Double
only it
inverted.
will come in the
Correct.
concatenate. Otherwise, it
Correct.
will
Correct.
not.
But here, anyways, here I'm actually not creating any space, but the space is more of a syntax actually. Okay, so you just type this way, exactly the way I have typed. Okay, if you want, I'll just demonstrate once more. I'll do undo, undo, undo several times. Okay, so this is how it was standing. I'll show once more. This is how it was standing just before my intervention. And then what I did was I copied this last row. Then I said, okay, the sheet name is data, that is correct. I'll start with R1, C1, that is correct, the first row, first column. Then R is fine, but will my row number be 2359? Not necessarily. So I put a double inverted comma, so that actually closes this portion. Okay, this portion is one text. Then I put an ampersand. I put a space, then I put an ampersand, then I put a space, another one. And then I remove this number and I paste my last row. I put one more space, another ampersand, another space. So before ampersand and after ampersand, I put space in VBA. And now this is fine. Acha, here I need to put double inverted comma. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, C14 is a constant. Na? After that, there is a double inverted comma, and before that, there is a double inverted. So this portion is a constant. This portion is not going to change every day. C14, I must definitely run it up to 14th column. But the number of rows can be a variable, so that's last. Getting it? This is as far as my source data argument is concerned. My source data argument is getting over. So imagine this like a function which has, you are trying to create a pivot table like a function. You have arguments. Your first argument is source type, which was an Excel database. We did not touch this. Source data. What was its starting point? What was the ending point? We slightly tweaked this to make this variable. Version is 8. I'm not sure what this is, but I'm not going to touch it. I don't think it will be a problem. Then I close the bracket here. And then we have this command create pivot table, where the table destination, where are we going to place this table? We are going to place this table as per the recording, as per the recorder. This will be placed in a sheet called sheet 2. Okay. In row number 3 and column number 1. So if I go to Excel, if I look at the pivot table, so where is the pivot table? Can you see it's in A3 cell? Correct, third row, first column. Where is the pivot table sitting? It is sitting in third row, first column, correct? That's the starting point. So R3C1, that's where it is being placed. What is the table name? Table name is pivot table 2. Okay. If I show you, if I come to this pivot table analyze, you can see pivot table 2 is its name. It's a default name. It's an auto-generated name. Okay. Default version is 8. What is this version 8? I'm not sure, but I don't think it will matter. Have you understood this line? Apart from that version thing, which hardly makes any difference. Other things, have you understood what we have done? Now here one very important
And
point.
sir,
Yeah.
sir, even though you said the version is irrelevant, in my case, it is showing version is equal to X1.
Okay. It may not be X1, it may be XL actually.
It is.
XL,
It is
maybe
Excel.
XL.
It is Excel. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But that's something that doesn't matter to us in terms of our process. From our work
Okay.
perspective, it's not mattering. Some kind of other technical aspect that has got captured here. That
Okay.
doesn't matter to us. So I'll ignore that point because to make this a workable macro, that doesn't matter. Okay, but I would like to draw your attention to the fact that at some point we had renamed the sheet.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, the way this process happens, we create a pivot table. While creating the pivot table, we insert a sheet. So as a part of that, somewhere this renaming also happened. Okay, at some point it must have got renamed. Can you see? If you scroll sufficiently, you have sheet2 dot name equal to pivot. Okay. But if you want, you can play with this a bit. Okay, so what you can do is you can come here, sheets dot add. You have sheets dot add. If you have sheets dot add, you can first of all add it with the name pivot. Okay, sheets dot add dot name. Okay, and in a pair of double inverted commas, you can have your command like this. So sheets dot add, I'm expanding a bit. Sheets dot add is the default one. I'm putting a dot name property to it. So I'll add the sheet and I'll also give it a name. This command you'll also see in library. In library, if you go, one of the initial commands is that way, where we have that. Okay, a sheet. See, the second command is sheets dot add dot name equal to add a sheet along with naming it. This will never get recorded in a recorder. Okay, but fundamentally you can have a command like this. So if I come back to my module one, I've got sheets dot add. I can have a dot name property equal to pivot. And then what I can do is um, I have this argument called table destination. What is the destination? If I'm going to add the sheet with the name pivot, that means you will not have sheet 2. You'll have the name over here as pivot. Yes or no? Do you agree with me? Okay, so let's try to achieve it. Sheets dot add is already there. Put a dot name equal to pivot. That is one change. And another change is in this table, in this pivot table, this command which went over 3 lines, this has the sheet name property here, sheet name thing here. That also we write it as pivot. Okay, are you with me? Let's see if somebody has written anything in sheet. Okay. Not sheets, sorry. Chat box I want to discuss. If somebody has written anything in chat box. Nothing in the chat box. Okay. Next is sheets sheet2 dot select. Okay, I've got this sheet2 dot select. Just a moment. I just connect the charger. Huh. So my next command is sheet2 dot select, but hold it. If you are going to add with the name pivot, then in that case you won't have this sheet2, right? So you copy this word pivot, do a copy paste. You might find it silly. Oh, why to copy pivot? I can type it. But trust me, if you can type it, you can misspell it. You can type it in an incorrect manner. Copy paste is extremely safe. If you don't do copy paste, then somewhere or the other you take an unnecessary risk making silly spelling mistakes. Somebody's mic is on. Please switch off your mic. Okay, all of you, please switch off your mic. Turn them on only when you want to say something. Otherwise, keep them on off mode by default. Thank you. So sheet pivot dot select cells 3 comma 1 dot select. So we are doing some more things with the pivot table. With active sheet dot pivot tables into bracket pivot table 2. What are we doing? We are doing so many things. Does this matter? I don't know. But this is the problem with recorder. So much superfluous code gets generated. Okay. Dot column grand equal to true, hash auto format equal to true. These are various properties of the pivot table which are being captured. Display error string equal to false, display null string equal to true, enable drill down true. So all these things you will find in the pivot table properties. Okay. For example, if I go to the pivot table here, and if I go to pivot table analyze, if I click on these options, there are so many options here. For example, auto fit column width. Okay, for empty cells show blank. For error value show we don't have anything specified. Then we have preserve cell formatting on update. This is just a default property over here. And the same thing is captured here. So if you see somewhere we have preserve formatting equal to true. Correct? Error string equal to blank. We did not say anything about error. Okay. So with respect to error, what to do? Display error string false. That checkbox was unticked. Display null string equal to true. For null, it was ticked. Null means empty. Okay, for empty cell, it was ticked. But was anything specified? Okay, for empty cell, this checkbox was ticked. But nothing was specified. So null string is display null string is true. But is there any value? So null string value is blank. Okay, page field order equal to 2, page field wrap count, reserve formatting, so many things are there. I'm not even going to read them. Okay, take it as homework. You can read all these things. These are 100 properties related to the pivot table. The only point which I would like to mention is that while doing this recording, just to stay a little efficient in this, what the macro has done is, what Excel has done is, it has used with and end with. With end with structure we had discussed previously also. Let me take this opportunity to revise that idea. We have the word with this pivot table. And then there are 100 properties that we are specifying here. So this is taken as a common factor. Okay, so with this object, what are you going to do? And then using dot, number of properties are mentioned. Dot column grant, dot has format, dot display error string, dot display null string. Go on specifying. And once you are through, then you write end with. So just as that if and end if, that day we discussed about if and end if. So similarly, with and end with goes as a block. Okay, if you write with, but then you forget to write end with, you will get an error message. You will your
Excuse me,
macro
sir.
won't say pop. Yeah.
Excuse me. So, like last time, here again, my code does not have all these properties. There is a with and end with, but only two, three items have been mentioned.
Ah.
All these
So maybe due to
things are
some kind of again the same thing. When we are recording, you are recording at your end, and you probably your
okay.
version is different. My version is
Okay.
different. So these things, and frankly, these are all superfluous codes. Does it mean anything to us? Did we intend to control any of these properties? Did we ever go to this pivot table analyze and options, and did we try to control any of these properties? The answer was no. So why Excel has reproduced all this? Even in your case, 2, 3 properties. In my case, probably 20 properties. But even those 2, 3 properties, why they have been enlisted is a big mystery. That's the problem, actually. Okay. So unfortunately, that is how things are.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Even
Okay,
the
sir.
next
Thank you.
2, 3 lines, even the next 2, 3 lines, if you see, these are also utter waste. I can actually ruthlessly just delete all these lines. Okay, but I'm not going to do that today because in a way, the recorder also exposes you to a lot of code. Right now, I want you to get the exposure. Okay, the code can be less efficient, can be a little wieldy, but let us be more familiar with the code. Last time also I had mentioned that please go on a recording spree. Okay, you should record every day, you should record many things. Whatever you do, just turn on the recorder, turn off the recorder, and see what code has got generated. That your familiarity will increase. So here again, some properties refresh on open file, missing item. So all this is why they have used a separate with end with is also beyond my comprehension because it's the same line, isn't it? Active sheet dot pivot tables, pivot table 2. Acha, this is related to pivot cache. So pivot tables, pivot table 2 dot pivot cache. So pivot cache means basically refresh. It's related to refresh. So they have captured some properties. then related to some labels being getting repeated, so many things. Okay. And then finally, somewhere at some point, we have these two lines. Can you note these two lines? They are there somewhere. Okay. Where the sheet is getting renamed. Okay, sheet 2 dot select. The moment the pivot table got created, I immediately renamed the sheet. But that happened only when the sheet got inserted in the first place, correct? So it became a part of my recording. But then we have handled it above already, correct? Now you don't have sheet 2 anymore. So in fact, if you leave it like this, you will get an error here. I'll execute it. So let's remove these two lines. And don't really remove them, just place an inverted comma at the beginning. And that way turn it green. If you place a single inverted comma at the beginning, it stays there for your reference. Okay, you are right now student when it comes to macros. So don't really delete any code, because even if that code, there is nothing wrong in that code. It got generated. Its syntax is correct. So just for your reference, you deactivate it. Don't really delete it so that it stays. Okay, but definitely deactivate it. If you don't deactivate it, then you will get an error. Okay, so these two lines I'm going to deactivate because they are not needed anymore. We handled that above.
And sir, I note one more thing here. In these
Okay.
two codes, the codes which we have now put inverted comma and converted into green, in my case, these two lines have been merged into one, I suppose. It is mentioned sheet2 dot name is equal to pivot.
Ah, so
Sheets,
that's a
sheets
little
within.
liberty. Again, primarily because of different versions, so slightly different syntax has been used.
So
Because this was
like this,
anyways the active sheet. This was
okay, as you
already the
said the other
active sheet.
day, as you said the other day, these two lines can be merged with this.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
that's
basically
what
this
I'm
is
saying.
created by macro. So
Okay,
depends. This is created by Excel itself. So some minor variation is expected.
so different
So
versions
that's the
create
problem with
differently.
the
Okay.
recorder. Yeah, yeah. This is the problem with recorder actually. That there will be some kind of variation. But anyways, moving on. With active sheet or pivot tables or pivot table pivot fields first digit. This is important. Now here we are building the pivot table. This is not something that I'll say it's superfluous. What we are doing, let's just read and understand. With active sheet, so active sheet is that pivot sheet, and dot pivot tables, pivot table 2 dot pivot fields first digit. So first digit is the field that we are looking at, correct? Okay, this is the field that we are looking at. And what we did, we dragged and dropped it in row field. Dot position equal to 1, it came to the top position, end with. So in short, what this width to end with, what this block is doing is, it is dragging and dropping that first digit into rows. Clear? Okay, it might sound a little elaborate, but in simple words, that's exactly what it is doing. Just drag drop in rows. Then again, we have slightly long kind of an expression. Goes till here. Okay, we have an underscore here. There is no underscore here, so this is the end. Okay, underscore space is here only. So these two lines we should read together, and then we have the next command on the next line. So what is this doing? In the pivot table, we are adding one more field, that is this first digit. Again, we are adding in as count of first digit. Okay, so add data field. Can you see? There is a keyword here, add data field. So we drag and drop that in values. We did something very simple, just a mouse click, drag and drop. It generated this seemingly complicated line. Okay, but if you catch the, see, you are not supposed to write this. Even if you can read and understand, that is sufficient. And if you can catch the keywords, what's happening is we have the field called first digit. This has gone into data. And what kind of summary measure it has generated? Count. And what is its caption? Its caption is count of first digit. Count of first digit is caption here. I can replace it with some other values. But the measure is here, Excel count. We are supposed to count. So this is going to generate a count. That is also good. And then what I said, This line is also important. So we change the orientation of that value. We said that what we want is percentage, right? Percent of grand total. If you remember, we did this, right? To show you an action replay. We did this value field settings, then we came to show values as percent of grand total. We chose this and we pressed OK, correct? So this is a reflection of that. This is recording to that. Okay, active sheet, pivot fields, count of first digit. What are you going to do with count of first digit? Its calculation will be Excel percent of total. That means percentage of total. And its number format, because it is percentage, obviously the number format is percentage. That's it. So here our pivot table is ready. This came in rows, this came in values, and then we changed it into percentage with percentage as the number format with two decimals. All that is one. Have you understood? And then the subsequent portion where we have. Okay, is everybody with me or am I going too fast? Okay, are you people comfortable with this speed or is it too fast for you? Hello? Let me check the chat box. Comfortable? Akka? Yes, Shashidharanji, do you have any question?
Sorry, I forgot to down my, I forgot down my hand earlier. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just take your hand down. Okay. All right. Speed is okay. Comfortable, na? हाँ. ठीक है. चलो. Moving on. Now we have a few more lines. I think we'll just discuss these lines and then we'll call it a day. Range C3 dot select. What we do, we come to C3. This is C3. Simple lines. Okay, the more difficult part was that pivot table thing. We are through. Active cell dot formula R17 is BL percent. We understand this. That heading was put. Then range C4 dot select. So we went to C4. Active cell dot formula. Log10 function has been used equal to sign log10 1 plus 1 by RC bracket minus 2. RC bracket minus 2 means same row, two columns to the left. It is nothing else but conversion of this formula. This formula is in A1 notation and the way it got recorded in VBA is in R1C1 notation. Then we have range C4 dot select and selection dot autofill. Destination is C4 to C12. What can you say about this range C4 to C12? Do we need to fill necessarily from C4 to C12 or this can vary from data to data? Have a look at your pivot table. Okay, will this length C4 to C12, will this vary from data to data? Not really, right? I mean, you can have more data when it comes to the source data, or you can have less data. But as far as the first digit is concerned, it will be only between 1 to 9, correct? Do you agree with me? Can you have digits other than these 9 digits as the first digit? Your first digit cannot be 0. Your first digit cannot be 0. So apart from these 9 digits, can you have any other digit? The answer is no. So be it any case of any data, you will have exactly 9 outcomes here with their respective probabilities. So Benford's law also it makes sense that you have this formula over 9 cells running from C4 to C2. Okay, fundamentally, if your pivot table is going to sit in the third row, then you start the calculation from the fourth row because third row is per header. C4 to C2, and this sounds good to me. So ordinarily, I try to make this variable. In some other situation, I would have tried to make this variable, but here I don't see any necessity. Anyways, beyond 920 now, so I'll just skip this part. There is no necessity also, and I just use some logic and I will go ahead. Then as a part of this autofill, whenever we do that click and drag and all, what happens is invariably the range gets selected. That is the next line. And then we made it a percentage, if you remember. Then, every little thing got in recorded. I wanted to have two decimals. Before I reach to two decimals, first I make it one decimal and then I make it two decimal. Correct? Everything got recorded. Now this is foolish if you ask me. Okay, it should have got only that exactly two decimals, but it has gone sequential. But I won't like nothing's wrong in this, even if it may sound a little long cut or foolish, but definitely not wrong, definitely not incorrect. So I'll tolerate this line and I'll move it. Okay, at this stage when we are students, I'll be very reluctant to delete any line. If it has got generated, let it stay, unless it is harmful, unless it is causing problem for me. Then also I won't delete, but I will simply deactivate. Okay, so what this does is basically it just creates this percentages, change the format, assigns percentage format and two decimal. And then what we did was, then we highlighted this range, we copied and we made a paste special. So that's the next thing. So we highlighted B3 to C12. Again, this is one particular range. Will it be always this range or will it be another range? So it will always be this range, huh? Because your pivot table is a rigid pivot table. It's going to be only 9 digits. It's going to be exactly this range. Okay. So this range we select selection.copy, we copy that. Then we go to A18, which can be a constant. You don't have to change. You go to A18 always. Okay, you copied, you go to A18, and this is the paste special command. The paste special command has got generated through recording. Where how we are pasting, we are doing a paste special and we are pasting it as Excel paste values and number formats. Did we discuss anything about operation? We did not say anything about operation. In paste special, we have this operation segment. Nothing to be mentioned. We didn't bother about this. Sorry. What Excel does is whether it's relevant or not relevant, but it mentions operation. This makes the commands unnecessarily lengthy. Operation Excel none, skip blanks false, transpose false. I'm not even interested in them. But Excel makes it a point to mention them explicitly. Okay, this is one big issue with it. Then for some reason I had scrolled. I don't even remember this, and even the scrolling down has got captured. And then what happened was this we added a shape, we added a chart. Okay, add chart to with this is the code for that chart. It's a line chart. Line chart and 227 is radiation. So this is for adding a chart. That chart got added. And then we have a source data for it. What is the source data? Just like pivot table, this is having a source data. What is your source? In the sheet called pivot. Now by then the sheet was renamed to pivot. So pivot is the sheet. We are talking about A18 cell to B27. Do we want this to be flexible? Will this change? Again, if you observe carefully, if you are going to do a paste special for 9 values, then it's going to be between A18 to B27. This is exactly what you will summarize or visualize using chart. I don't see any problem here. And then some more things where you try to make the chart a little bigger. Just try to make this bigger. The scale width, I tried to make it a little bigger and then a little more bigger. So you see the scale width, it was 1.41833 and now it is 1.513888. Captured some more parameters. Basically, what I was trying to do over here And I think I did that in 2 steps. Was just trying to make the chart bigger. That's it. So this is the command. Have you understood this? Okay, have you understood this? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
At least in terms of if you read, by and large, have you understood it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, largely this has been recording based. We have made use of the recording and some tweakings here and there. So we have done some tweaking. Does it work? We will see that. We will do the testing next time. But your homework for today, for this week, would be to go on a recording spree. Please do lots and lots of recordings. Okay, do lots and lots of recordings. That will help. Okay.
Sir, if I may say,
Yeah.
uh, sir, whatever you explained line by line, the code, whatever it does, we can also, as a homework, we can do it with F8 and keep on watching, no?
Yeah, you can do that. Please go ahead with that.
Thank you.
You can do that. Probably you should do that. A few questions have been raised in the chat. Ratnakar Deshpande ji has asked one question. It may vary if any number is missing. Yeah, that could be possible. I don't deny that. That's a possibility. Well, we can take that up in the next session, perhaps. Okay, right now I'll conveniently assume it to be 9 digits. And we can just add a little more intelligence in the macro. Wherein we can consider that as a possibility. Especially in some data, it might happen that a digit is altogether missing. That's a big red flag, I would say. Then and there, it's a red flag. But suppose that happens, we'll consider that as a possibility. The next session, we can tackle that. Just remind me, Ratnagarji, next time. Yes, Anuradha ji, you are correct. It will mean a big tampering. Ideally, all digits should get represented. Okay, so what we'll do is, so we have done this recording, we have discussed a lot of concepts. Okay, I request everyone to just chew on this particular macro. Okay, the macro is ready at your end. And please go through it once more at home. And as I discussed, please go on a recording spree. Record as many things as possible. Get exposed to code. You have the library. Go through that code also. Even the library code you try to execute and see if something is emerging or something. Okay, wherever appropriate, you might have to create sheets or something, create some kind of a data. But then fundamentally, you can try different codes. Just be a little more familiar with the code. That's how. Okay, while we are doing an assembly job primarily, but even for doing that assembly, you should have some familiarity. That's how. Okay. So on this note, I think let's wind up today's session. Go through the course. If you have any questions, do mark them. I join the meeting normally at 7. Okay, I'm at 7, I'm there usually. So please ask your questions. You can just check in the attendance attendees list. If you see my name, Nachiket Pendarkar, you can start raising questions. Normally we wait for 5 minutes or 10 minutes for the other participants to join. But during that time, I'm present, you are present. So if you have any questions, I would like to take them. When you do some homework in the background, so, so if that gives rise to any questions, we can discuss them at the beginning. Okay, so do some homework and probably we'll have some questions on Monday. We can discuss. Okay, so that's it from my side. Okay. I think it's time to wind up today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.